Hello, everybody. Today we're going to go over best practices for SAP Business Process Management, modeling, documentations, real-time monitoring, and analytics with Errol Sika, SAP Solution Manager, Process Management, and Focus Build Coach, and Fisnik Vasile, SAP Solution Manager, Process Management, and Focus Build Coach. So we're going to give everyone else like 2 or 3 more minutes to join in. At that point, we'll start the webinar. All right, we're going to begin. Errol?
Okay. Thank you, Veton. Can you just confirm that you can see my screen and that you can hear me well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well,
thank you.
Hello, everyone, and turn that off. Welcome to today's webinar, where we'll discuss best practices for business process management, modeling, documentation, real-time monitoring, and analytics. My name is Errol Sika. I'm a solution manager, business process management, and focus build coach. And alongside, I'll have Fisnik Vasile. He's also one of the SAP Solution Manager, business process architect, and focus build coach. Okay. So regarding today's agenda, just very briefly, we'll take a look at, as we'll talk about CoreALM and who we are. We'll also talk about the overview of business process management and business process monitoring. And last but not least, we'll jump into a live demo that we have prepared for you. Very briefly, as far as who we are, CoreALM, we are a team of dedicated experts that are focused on digital transformation lifecycle by establishing a strong digital core foundation, leveraging SAP HANA Solution Manager, application lifecycle management, and DevOps. We were founded in 2009, and we have a combine of 50 years plus of experience in the SAP world. A list of the customers that we've worked with in the past, just very briefly, and we also have so these are some of our product and service offerings, from process, project and portfolio management, business process management, of course, as we'll talk about in detail today, test management, ITSM, change control, DevOps design, UI development, DevOps, of course, and focus build and focus run. We also have 3 engagement models of time and material, fixed cost, and managed services. But also, depending on the client's need, these disengagement models are flexible. Okay, give me 1 second. I can't. Okay. Sorry about that. I was having a little issue tapping over. These are some of the awards and recognitions from the SAP community that we've received. Okay. And here we on one of our offerings is the CoreALM Scrum Board. So the Scrum Board itself sits on top of Solution Manager and provides the functionality of managing your project. So if you're performing a project and you want that visibility of where you're managing your task, or you can track, or you want to track as far as where you are along the project and what your status is, this gives you that visibility. This gives you that visibility. Okay. And so the Scrum Board itself also provides the Agile report, gives you Agile reporting capabilities with real-time statuses, status reporting, that also provides this also with your KPIs, which will be important to you, but also with nice very real-time graphs as far as burn-up and burn-down chart, and also several other options. So you know where you are in real time if you were to manage a project. Okay. One of our offerings is the ServiceNow connector for SAP Solution Manager. So what it does is it, as the name says itself, it connects Solution Manager with ServiceNow. So if we were to create an incident in ServiceNow, it will show up. In Solution Manager. It also has a bi-directional capability where we can create a change request in Solman, and then we can create an incident in ServiceNow. So we'll jump into Solution Manager 7.2, and then let's just jump right into the business process management, and let's talk about what is a solution. So when we're talking about a solution, we're referring to the sum of all the systems, applications, and processes. It acts as the container for versions of the solution documentation that we're storing. So, and the recommendation is for the company to have one solution. The reason for it is that you want a central point or a central repository where you are storing all of your documentations. That way you are not jumping from one system to the other. So the solution itself contains branches or versions. So if we wanted to make an update, what we do is we start up on the import branch to import there's a new best practice processes. Then after the import, we select those business processes that you need that you made the configurations. Then you want to release them to the design branch. And then from the design branch, so after you select them from the design branch, you want to move over to build the process to the development branch. And once you're finished with the development branch, you want to release those changes to the production branch. And then once those changes are released to the production branch, you want to use the maintenance branch in order to change the production solution. Bear with me 1 second. I'm having a little issue with the internet. Okay, I apologize. So in the why is process hierarchy important? There are several reasons why. One, the first one is that it divides a complex process landscape into smaller and better manageable parts. It also follows from the abstract to concrete principle by providing information about those processes on different level of granularity. It also delivers a defined information based on each level to ensure that the process modules are comparable at a later stage. And last but not least, it is the most important starting point for any process management, whether that is solution documentation or process modeling activity. Okay. The business hierarchy itself consists of folders that are used to break down the processes into process groups or process grouping. The process grouping itself is followed by the last level grouping, that is the scenario process and the process step. In Solution Manager itself, these processes are classified as either end-to-end or modular. An end-to-end process involves multiple functional domains and represents a comprehensive flow of activities that are needed to solve larger business matters. So those end-to-end processes do not stop at the boundary of a process area organization. So for example, an order to cash would be an example of an end-to-end example, where it typically would start out with customer interaction of a sales clerk or a web shop, and then it invokes functional domains belonging to production, supply chain, management, finance, etc., where it's moving along the value chain. So, on the other hand, we also have the modular processes, which are those processes that typically do not exceed the functional domain of an organization. Hence, there's always one organization that has the responsibility for that entire process. These processes should be grouped by functional domains that often correspond to organizational structures. So and then we have those modular processes, those domains, typically build your process hierarchy. Some examples of modular domains would be the finance department, HR, production, procurement, sales, etc. Okay. And in the business hierarchy itself is composed of process steps that are located and stored in the business process step library. So the library itself ensures that every business function or capability required to operate your business is represented by a process step, and you define those process steps according to the requiring business capabilities, whether there is an application or whether there's an IT system available. So those also the manual steps or steps that are supported by your non-SAP environments, they do become part of your process steps as well. Okay. And inside those libraries itself, the business processes are assembled from those reusable process steps, those interfaces, and also the configuration units. So once we reuse those elements, which of course can be reused and are reusable in exact of their original purpose, but also we can also make adjustments to them. So when we're building up the libraries, each library element should exist only once. And if that same element is used multiple times, then it should be referenced or reused, or what we call it referenced as well. And the reason for it is that by reusing the elements, you avoid a double documentation. Okay. So what would distinguish between what is an original and what is a reference? The easiest way, simply put, is that the libraries store inventories of elements, originals, which can be reused. The reusable occurrences are then what we call then become your references. In regards to the documentation standards itself that SAP Solution Manager provides, it also allows us to define the document standards, whereas by allowing us to assign technical documentation to the executable or the development library, we can also assign the configuration units to the configuration library, of course. The interface documentation at the interface library level, business processes at the functional specification point, and we can also assign those BPDs, business process documents, to the business process at the business process itself in the hierarchy. So let's talk about process modeling, as it is another and provides another functionality of Solution Manager in the creation of process diagrams. So a diagram, what is a diagram? The diagram itself describes the internal flow of activities, or those process steps that we mentioned earlier. So you can see the visual here of what it looks like in solution documentation. So you choose the diagram to improve your business process communication. So BPMN itself helps those diagrams to maintain a unified language to communicate those processes. And when modeling processes, it is essential to focus on what your target audience is, as far as who they are and who the stakeholders of them who are the stakeholders of the module. It also defines the elements that are shown in the process and also the level of detail, and whether a process is more business or IT oriented. Okay. So here we have an example of a collaboration diagram. As a solution documentation allows you to create several types of diagrams, so you do have that option. But for best practices, it is recommended to build collaboration diagrams, as you do have the functionality of adding black boxes that are outside of those of the process diagram. And also, by looking at this diagram, we can see that this is an end-to-end process, as there are multiple modular units that this diagram flows. So let's change gears a little bit and talk about business process monitoring, and what BPM entails is that it gives you the ability to monitor your core business processes to where where it provides increased process availability, stability, performance, more throughput, and better end user satisfaction. The pain point of businesses are so BPMon. What we can say is that it solves the pain points of the business, and on the IT aspect of it, it helps with IDOCs and your job monitoring. So on the business side, you would have it gives you the ability to have a faster response time and not to lose money due to delays that you may incur. Some of the benefits of business monitoring is that increases the transparency, of course, across organizational units. It helps reduce costs by bringing efficiency, so we're more efficient. It increases user satisfaction, which then it enables consistency across your system boundaries. And last but not least, it provides stability through a smooth and reliable processing of core business processes. And then BPMon itself is also the central tool to where you can monitor the business processes in both your SAP and non-SAP landscape. So you do have that option as well, so where you can, whether you have some tools that are not that do not have that are not part of the SAP offering. So here we have an example of an order to cash business process and the steps. So once we're set up, when we're setting up monitoring, we're setting up monitoring and the system diagram, so we can see we can set up the KPIs that are important to the business itself, and we can also see the status on each one as it displays visually. So here we have the order creation and how the order creation process goes through the steps and how it travels from one system to the next. As you will see, and you'll see a little bit more, you'll get a little bit more understanding, a better feel of it in the demo itself. So that was all of that I prepared in regards to the presentation. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to pass the part of the webinar to my colleague Fisnik Vaseli, who will perform the demo aspect.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yes. We can hear you. We can see the screen, Fisnik.
Okay, thank you, Red. I will go and just a quick view of Solution Manager 7.2. This is how it looks, a priori launchpad that we have now in Solution Manager 7.2, and as a Solution Manager, as we upgrade from 7.1 7.2, we have this launchpad, and we don't have any more the transaction code that we used to have, Solar 01, Solar 02. Now we have the tasks, that solution documentation. It's basically what used to be before Solution Manager, Solar transaction, right? And we have also solution administration to manage all the solution and the branches and so on. As Erad mentioned, the process hierarchy, this is one of the process hierarchy that I'm showing in here, and it can be multiple folder level. I can create multiple folder in when I design my hierarchy. And what's important in here is that back in Solution Manager 7.1, we used to have the limitation having only 3 level, which was the process step, and scenario, process, and process step. Now here we have multiple levels. As what does this mean for us? This means that we can design our processes as we run in an organization. So we are not limited to design our process structure, to build all our process hierarchy. Depends on if we're thinking about end-to-end processes or we're thinking about modular processes, as it can be any of the module that we run as is, or we're planning to design new features. We will be able to incorporate all of them into our business structure. So what is important here on the business process documentation is that here we don't just have a setup for dumping the documentation. We don't have, this is not only a document repository. This is enables us to do all related artifact about our processes. As I'm going to show you here, I can add configuration document, I can add configuration item, I can add development object, I can add diagrams. I will show you diagrams right now. I can add multiple type of documentation. I can add alerts, KPIs. I can link process. I can create process variants of the same process and add particular documentation and test cases that are related to that particular process variant. And I can also add test cases. And within Solution Manager 7.2 here, with what we do have is we have automated testing tool, which is called CBTA. CBTA used to be also in 7.1, but here we have CBTA has evolved. It's easy to use. It's fully incorporated with Solution Manager, and it enables us to record SAP and some non-SAP also, but that's a limit on non-SAP application to do test automation. And we also have a test steps designer to similar to HP for manual test steps. And when we have all these, we have that 360 degree of our business processes. So we can go see all of documentation, all our artifact. And what's important in here is that when I build my business processes, for example, I'm going to pick, this was sales order. I'm just going to pick procure to pay here. And I'm going to show you, let me just show you here a diagram. Let me pick a diagram. So we can add here, see all the process steps that build this process. And I can see here I have multiple documentation. I have test scripts. I have configuration items. I have flows. Let me open this. I have test cases. I'm going to open this process diagram here. And let's see this process diagram here. And what's important here for this particular process diagram is that it's not just a visual diagram. It's not a static diagram. This is a live diagram, meaning that if I go down here, elements, so all these elements here are process steps. So this is a process flow that I'm taking when I start the process until I finish the process. It goes through multiple roles, people that execute this process, that run this process. And here I can see if I have requirements assigned to it, I can see the requirements. If I have multiple, it will show up in here, and I can click in here and I will be able to go to the requirements. For example, I'm going to pick this one, this process, and it will show me all. It's loading here. It will show me here what do I have for this process. I see I have an alerting object. If I click this one, this process tab, it will bring me all documentation and all elements of that particular process steps right here in elements window. And let me close this one and go back to documentation just to show you how am I building these processes? How am I defining these processes? So when I go to, for example, let me pick this process now. I can have multiple. I can also create there. Let me go into process tab. So I clicked on the process tab, and now I'm going to click and go to the process step library. I'm going to the original library. So this is the process step that I'm using in the library to build that process. What does this mean? It means that I have these libraries that I have all reusable elements for me to enable me to design my process. So I have this on the bucket. I have all the tools that I need to design my process. I can go a level down if I want to. I'm going to pick the transaction in here, and I'm going to go a level down. So I was at the process step library. Now I'm going to level down to executable library. So now in executable library, I'm going to do a right click here. I'm going to say create purchase order requisition. I want to see where everywhere with this one is used. So if I want to change or do anything to it, I can see it's used on all these particular processes in here. I can see it's used on the supply chain. It's used on their purchase order requisition. It's used on their this one. I can see all the places that I'm using that particular executable or T code. So why this is very important is that I'm reusing documents. I'm reusing because I add technical documents to technical libraries. I add functional documents to functional libraries. And every time I'm building those items, all the documentation, as I can see in here, all the documentation, it comes with it. So I don't have to reuse documents and go have and when I make an update, go make updates in 20 other places. I don't have to do this. This automatically automatically solve my problem for that. And then what I can do now, I can as I open the diagram here, I'm going to show you. I think I have to open in here. So this is one of the business process flows. Now I can go, once I build this process flow, I can go ahead and design and build it. Now, well, good. I built it on design. I moved it from design to development. I designed, moved to development, build it, and push it to production. And once I push it to production, now I'm in operation. I want to monitor this process. How do I do that? Well, there is in business process in Solution Manager 7.2, the process management is a key benefit that enables you to do all these other features, right? So I can go here to the business process monitoring role as a business process monitoring. I can click on the business process monitoring tile, and it will open my business process monitoring, where I can see what process I'm monitoring. So I can see the processes in here, how I have a group. I can see how my processes are doing, what issue do I have. If I see the diagrams here, will show up the diagrams. So it's whatever process I pick. Let me just go click in here. And you saw on top the statuses for general overview. And in here, this is a simple one. Let me pick this one, more complex to see it, because that was all green. Let's see, this one is red. And this one was the one that we showed when we did the documentation, right? We saw the same diagram that we had it in there. And now in here, I can see all these slides. What are these slides? These slides are the KPIs. The KPIs in solution documentation that we saw for when we went to the process steps, that we saw, we had some KPIs there. I think it was this other process that we did. And we saw that we had some KPIs in the process step level. I'm going to click in here. And on those KPIs, see alerting KPIs, these are the KPIs. How do I create these KPIs? It's very easy. You just right click and do alerting, and you will have a selection of a couple of thousand KPIs that SAP has pre-delivered for Solution Manager 7.2. And once I do that, I set up the KPI, and I can go ahead and I can see the light. Did it meet the threshold? Here I see an orange, a red. So the green is good. The red, let's see it, what it is. We can see that's it's a purchase order open and overdue orders. So I can go ahead and I can drill down, and I can see if there are 291 one. And if I click in this one, this will open a window, and I have the link in here. This is the link that will send me to my S/4HANA. And because I don't have the data here in Solution Manager, I have just a number. But in S/4HANA, if I click in the link, it will query those for me. So if I'm a business analyst, I own this process, and this is the issue. I have the query there that I can go ahead and solve this. I can solve this purchase order that are open and not been delivered yet, right? That's overdue for delivery. And I also, if I click on the diagram here, it will open me the diagram and will show me the timeline with hours, as we can see it, when and how this increase and decrease, how we open and we close. And I can go on the timeline here, and I can move this timeline, depends how I need it to see the particular metrics into the time matter. If I'm worried what happened to a particular time, but a lot of order, and so then I can, if it's a business issue or related to technical issue, I can go ahead and see what happened in the system on that particular time, or what was the issue that I have so much orders. For in this example, that was overdue or something. And we can see here that you can have multiple alerts for each process step. So this is the flow that I take for the process step. I goes to from purchase, and we designed this one, we build it, and we pushed it to production. And when we have in production, we can add multiple of alerts and use it for operation. So this will be used for testing, as we have multiple flows, multi-variation, and also will be used in the operation side and so on. So what business, and also you can go in here in metrics and just see the metrics, all the metrics for particular process step and how they're doing. If you want to see technical data, you can also do that, right? And what's important here is that the process management, the business process hierarchy, when you build a business process hierarchy, when you decompose your business process from abstract to concrete to the technical level, it's important to do it right. Because when you do it right, and when you do it right, you break your business process right on the right level as you run them actually, as close as you run them in actual production system. You will take advantage of the right documentation and do the right monitoring and right testing, and that would make your life very easier and will do like huge cost on time saving and money saving on the effort. I think that's it for my part. We're gonna open up for questioning. Do you guys have any questioning now? No, Beton? Yeah, Beton, if someone wrote a question,
So,
read it.
can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, so we have our business process documentation all over the place, shared drives, HPALM, Visio, etc. How would you recommend we get all this info into Solution Manager?
Yeah, so what we would be sorting is we would have to look at and see if you have any good BPDs or if you have any good process structure that you did or if you have good testing strategy. And based on those, we will analyze it and propose the solution of your business process hierarchy to you, and you can take it and discuss it with your business people, and they can approve it, and then that would be your SS. And if you're planning to go to S/4HANA, that's a different story, a different type of, because it can be different types. It's a greenfield or a brownfield or how you're planning to do. But we will build that one. We will also do something called library generation. So generate a library to get what object you're currently using in the system. We will bring those and we will use those as artifact to actually start building your business process structure. I hope that answered your question.
All right. Two, do we need to build out the business process hierarchy before doing testing, or can we build ad hoc test cases like we do with HPALM?
You can do it, but if you want to have, you can do it either way. So just if you want to take advantage of other tools like business process monitoring, or if you want to take advantage of a tool called BPCA, which stands for Business Process Change Analyzer, you need to have a proper business process structure and have all the executable object and all these objects, build your structure in the right place, and all variation, everything else, put it in the right place. So when you run the tool, will give you what was changed into your process when you do new changes to the systems, and that will essentially give you a testing scope based on that change, what would be affected, and will give you a testing scope. You can also optimize your test scope, but it will give you the test scope, and you can create directly from there a test plan and start doing the regression testing.
Okay, so we have a lot of Visio, Excel, and other document and ARIS process models. How difficult is it to actually upload them into Solution Manager?
Yeah, so for importing, what we do is we work with multiple clients on this. As this is very interconnected with process and executable, we would actually build these in the system and not import it. We will build it, and when we build these, we will see if the processes are well defined and define them, take advantage of those when we build it. So you can take advantage of having well done business processes, because those are, as I showed you here, the diagrams here are not just static diagrams, but are living diagrams and all connected with process steps.
Okay. We would like to use SAP Solution Manager technical monitoring. How difficult is it to set up if we have 50 SIDs in our environment?
Yeah, technical monitoring, I showed you business process monitoring, but yeah, technical monitoring, it's depends where you stand on the system configuration and how you done manage system setup. It's not a huge effort. Depends how many KPIs there you want to configure and how do you want to put the thresholds and all those technical details. But for technical configuration, it should be short time.
And then how's the business process hierarchy related to manual and automated testing?
Well, business process hierarchy, it's a key. You can do testing without the process hierarchy. But if you want to have test coverage and you want to see how the testing is or you have how your test cases are linked to your processes, that's what you're testing processes and process types. It's key important to have good process hierarchy, because you can connect multiple test cases when you do test case composite. When you do connect multiple test cases into one, and you can run all of them at once for entire scenario and so on. And it's very important to have a proper process hierarchy and process documentation to do that. And also for if you want to plan to do PVCA, as I said before, and monitoring and everything else, it's key important to have proper business process hierarchy and documentation and so on.
So if we use Focus Build for our S4 project, do we need to modify any of the data we move into operations post go live?
Can you repeat the question? Can you repeat the question?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you repeat it again?
Yeah. So if we used Focus Build for our S4 project, do we need to modify any of the data when we move into operations post go live?
No, you don't have to. You can use Focus Build to deliver the project, and when you're done with the delivery, you can stop using Focus Build if you want anytime. It's just a matter of preference. Yeah, no, you don't. You can keep using Focus Build if you want to use it for change management even after you went live.
Okay. What about concerning auditing, reporting, analytics, digital signatures?
Yeah, so all with the process management, you have digital signature. I didn't show you here, but yes, you can have you can set up your digital signature flow, how many approval, where, and everything else on the process in document status, so you can assign those documents, and you can also digitally assign test cases, test plans too. So it depends how how and where do you want to set up digital signature.
And then we are FDA regulated and struggle with validation and traceability. Do you have any customers that are facing the same struggle and are using Solution Manager to overcome these challenges?
Yes, we do have customers that are actually going through implementation itself, doing S/4HANA implementation. We are helping them by using Focus Build to do this implementation, which is highly complex environment, multiple signature, highly regulated companies, and it fully support everything that you need, and it saves so much time and effort on traceability, because with this you can trace back from a requirement to deploy everything that happened to particular requirement through all the phases on the testing, on development, and functional technical specs, and everything. It has full traceability, as that's how the tool is built, through connect all the pieces together. But in order to make that work, you have to use Focus Build, and you have to take into consideration all the part of Solution Manager that connects those two pieces together to enables you to have that extended traceability from requirements until you deliver through all the pieces.
Okay. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
So that's it for questions. If you do have any other questions, or you want to have a more in-depth explanation that's more particular to your situation, feel free to reach out to info@corealm.com, or you can request a consultation on our resources page. In the meantime, I hope everyone has a great weekend, and see you next week.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you, guys.